Hello and welcome to the 100th episode of the Berkcast, the How to Train a Dragon podcast. I'm your host HC, and with me are
Rush 2112.
And Wolf.
100 episodes. Suck at people who couldn't say we could, who didn't believe we could make it. Well, guess what? We did. Episode 100. We've
I
been
didn't
doing
believe.
this. We've been doing this for more than 100 times and more than 100 weeks. And this is either really impressive that we managed to keep this going for so long, or sad because we have no life. And we spend our free time talking about a Viking and his dragon. But I like to believe this is somewhat impressive. So 100 episodes. Are you guys excited? I'll be serious for a second. I kinda am. I still. This is huge. This is huge.
Mm-hmm.
Yay.
Man, you know something? When I made that post, did you believe we'll make it this far?
Nope.
No.
Hmm.
Honestly,
I
it's kind of sad that this is probably one of the most dedicated, external things I've done. But it's because I've been in 3 bands that didn't. Well, one was one doesn't count, but the other two basically didn't. Well, it was like a church band, so of course that one lasted until I graduated. So that wasn't really much of a. That was only still for like my senior year of high school, but the 2 other bands, they didn't last really more than a half semester or a full semester. Um, and then one of my I think I actually started this from one of my internships. Of course, my current job is one, but still, it doesn't seem like many other of my extracurriculars lasted as long as this has, I should say.
Wolf, what about you and your other hobbies?
I have no hobbies. I have no life,
Okay,
remember?
okay. So this is the only one. Okay.
Yep.
I think
It's
I've
all I've
said
got.
before that.
Once this is over, I have nothing. Help me.
All by myself.
Myself. You're old, old. Okay, no, not the right song. um, anyway, yeah. So episode 100, and we just sat here and said we thought what could be cool for the 100 episode, and we said, well, we can do a Q&A. Well, we didn't have enough questions,
None of you
so
talk to us.
we are going with a plan B.
Thank you for the love,
We.
audience. We love you too.
Mhm.
Of course, we then check our YouTube comments and realize that people actually ask questions in the comments. Oops.
No, I checked. I checked.
Mm.
But we said to ourselves, well, we are celebrating this podcast and everything that we've been through in these two plus years and all of these episodes. So we said, you know what? Let's why not celebrate the episodes we like the most, the episodes that we either enjoyed recording or just had fun talking about and listening again and listen to again. So today we are counting down our 7 favorite Bellcast episodes. There are no real rules. There's no. I would even argue there might not be an actual order here. Like I have some sort of an order, but I'm not sure about you guys. But we are just going to talk about our 7 favorite Bellcast episodes. Keep in mind that we'll miss a lot of episodes we've done because 7 compared to 100. But what can you do?
Chaos is the only rule.
Hmm. One way to look at it. So, without further ado, number 7. For again, just to explain this, each one of us says what episode it is, and after each one says what episode he chose for each spot, we'll start explaining. So, with that said, episode 7. Let's say the order is me, Rush, Wolf.
It's what we've done always, so it works.
Okay. So my number 7 is other DreamWorks films, where we talked about the other DreamWorks films besides How to Train a Dragon.
Fair enough.
Are we gonna? Sorry, I didn't catch the part. Are we doing it just we're giving our first and then our explanation,
Okay.
or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Mine is. I know the name. I just want to. I just want to know what episode number it is. So AC, I didn't tell you, but on my way to Plan C, I left my notebook with the stuff.
Oh.
So.
Hmm.
Yeah. I believe it was the season 5 review of
Race to the Edge?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Cool.
Season 5 review was episode
43, I
3.
believe.
Yep. And HC's episode was episode 71 for those who might be looking. For me, my number 7 is, I'm going to go with episode 86, Volka's Omelet, because that was fun.
I knew someone would choose that. I just knew.
And
Anyway,
we should definitely start calling Volka's Wildebeest Omelet. Get on that.
Yeah, I think we
more people need to blog that post.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so now to the explanation. With my choice, the other DreamWorks films, I just think it was fun. It was kind of fun to, after, because this was episode 70 something. So by that point, all three of us got to know each other. We already know what each one thinks about How to Train a Dragon, and either the movies, the shows, whatever. So it was nice to kind of differentiate from it and talk about the other films DreamWorks have made, and also find out about different tastes and what other movies we agree on or don't agree on, or what one of us saw and the others didn't. And it's also kind of one of those fun episodes that I like to put on as a background noise if I need it for something. So I just think it was a fun episode to record and listen to.
You listen to our episodes after we record them? What's wrong with you?
I need background noise.
I hate the sound of my voice.
I
hate the sound of your voice, but I have to put up with it once. I don't want to put up with it again.
Agreed.
I used to hate listening to my own voice, but I get when you're doing too much voice acting and editing your own voice acting, you kind of get used to it. So
excuse me, my voice acting is very different from my voice.
Listen to these two humble brags.
Well, that's why I'm not gonna say I don't like listening. Don't like listening to my voice. It was a joke, regardless. But that's why I always talk in a different voice.
Weird flex.
Well, just to rephrase it, I used to not like hearing myself talk, no matter what voice. I could have done the farthest thing away from my actual voice, and I couldn't listen to it. So, but as time went on, and I edited a lot of these things, I kind of I kind of grew numb of the idea. Like, yeah, sure, I listen to myself, whatever by this point. Anyway, Rush, explain.
So I chose the season 5 review because it was our longest episode. And
one reason.
Well, yes, but it's the fact that we almost broke 2 hours and 30 minutes. I think that's just why it caught my eye, because it was just an impressive feat.
Yeah,
that's why it's in my top 7 list.
It's interesting that's in your top 7 list because you're wrong.
Wait, which one's longer?
Episode 65, Race to the Edge, season 6 review, 2 hours 25 minutes 47 seconds. The one you chose was 2 hours 24 minutes 43 seconds.
Episode 60. Wait, which one?
Episode 65, Race to the Edge, season 6 review.
That one's not even. Oh, that one's not even in the playlist. No wonder I couldn't find it.
It is. What? It should be.
Not for me.
I shall have to fix this.
Well, then. Okay. So yeah,
I'm
like, which one's the longest? So I did Control F 2:, And then I know, like, I was like, I think it was 2-2. So I did 2-2, and there was only one that showed up like that. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I knew it was one of the longest ones. So,
I mean, it's definitely up there. Yeah, it's legit. It's not in the playlist. Wow. Huh. All right, then.
yeah.
This will
And
have to
that's
be
what I was
fixed.
doing
That's
searching through this week. I was looking through the stuff. And so, of course, now, like I said, after losing my list, not losing, but leaving it behind.
How did they get taken out of the list? I'm genuinely... I blame YouTube. Anyways, this will be fixed later. Moving on.
I'm sorry, did you say U2 or YouTube?
YouTube. I blame YouTube.
I would have accepted my anyway. Regardless, it's
I'm
still...
just the Homer Simpson gif where he goes into the bush.
disappear.
Fair enough.
Regardless, how about this? Since it was 1 minute off, right? It's still
Not even that.
Whatever. Rush chose Rest of the Edge Season 5
He
review.
was still able to do it for such a long time.
Mhm.
Granted, I mean, there wasn't much notable about the episode in the terms of, hey, we just talked about the episodes, gave our views on them, and that's kind of what took it so long. But the fact that we were still able to talk for 2 hours, almost 2.5 hours, and not be like, let's just get this shit done. We were, I would say, reasonably engaged by the end of it.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Okay, Wolf, go.
I picked episode 86 of Valka's Omelet just because that was a fun episode, and that's definitely like one of our... I don't know if it's our shortest episode, but it's definitely one of our shorter episodes. And it kind of, for me, it shows, like, I think we can be fun and enjoyable and entertaining when we're doing long episodes and when we're doing short episodes as well. And again, I just love some of the back and forth in the episode and the joke of naming Valka's water beast Omelet. Just some fun stuff. So that is why.
Okay, cool. Now, number 6. My number 6 pick, and I think you guys will probably see this coming. Well, Rush probably saw this coming because
I
it's
think I do know it.
it's the first fan fiction reading.
Fair. Pointing out, HC once again picks an episode that's focused on reading his fan fiction.
Okay, when I'll get to the explain, that's not the main reason. I promise.
You're gonna say that, but I've put that thought in people's heads now. They're going to look at you and like, yep, HC.
So
of course, HC's that guy.
So you know what? You want to change it up so that we say our pick and then explain instead of...
No.
Okay.
We
So
want
Rush,
to
what?
let the audience fester. We were not going to give you a chance.
Okay,
Alright,
Rush, what is your number 6 pick?
my number 6 is the Fish Legs character episode
I knew
7.
it! I knew it! This was going to be on your list. I knew it.
Because this is, even though it was an early
Wait,
one...
it's not the explanation. That's
Oh,
not the
yeah,
explanation.
that's right.
Wolf.
Good catch.
Mine is episode 50, The Books.
Okay, so to me, just to clarify, no, this is no business with the fact that this is my fan fiction. It has no, it's not. Shut the hell up. But what the few things that really make it a fun episode for me is, one, there's no wolf in it because he couldn't make it, so that's already a good thing.
Not that I couldn't make it. I wasn't invited, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Let's make that clear.
No. I invited you for this one. You told me you couldn't make it, so you weren't a main caster then. So
You have no proof.
I have.
You don't?
Anyway, let's meet somewhere in the middle and say I do. But anyway, what makes this episode fun for me is, one, that obviously this was a joke fic. I would even call it a crack fic. So it was just fun, like hearing Rush and Voyager react to some of the stuff that happened. Like I like the fact that there's one point where we inform Voyager, it's Voyager's turn to read, and Rush and I tell her, like, Voyager, it's your turn, and she's like, Yeah, I just read a bit ahead, and I need a moment to catch my breath. Hold on, this is too weird. And
I'll have a wager.
and then Russia's voice acting is always excellent because he voiced most of the male characters in there, and Hiccup, Dagger, Jack Frost, Fish Legs. Who else was in there?
Stoic. He came
Stoic
back.
as
That was
well. Yeah,
best.
Stoic who got better after
Wow.
he was blasted, and so there's a great variety of voice acting from Rush, and also Voyager had a lot of female characters to do there, and she didn't really change her voice; she just used her voice for everyone, but it in some way her voice worked for every character, and I really enjoyed how she portrayed Mary Sue, the Mary Sue Night Fury Rider. That was a fun part to listen to. Also, Sean Connery, Toothless, also came from this
Yes.
episode. Also came from this episode. That's amazing. And you guys are probably going to be mad at me for saying this, but I got to voice Sonic, so you know what? I'll take it. It was a fun bit to do.
See, in the end, it's always about HC.
I just went on for like a minute praising you and voice, so
Yes,
screw
but
you.
in the end, it was all about you.
Yeah.
That's
It's
all.
my movie, my superhero movie. It's all about me.
Yeah.
Anyway, Rush, explain your number
Alright.
6 pick, and I know
Fish Legs-
why, but I want to
Fish
hear
Legs
this.
character episode. Oh man, it was an early episode, but it was probably the first where I laughed that hard, and I know I've laughed that hard more recently, but you still just can't get over the worst things we've said. Probably, well, we've probably said worse now, but
Yeah,
that was
we.
that was the that was probably the first bad thing we've said we did. And what a thing it was.
We should clarify, bad for us isn't really that terrible. It's literally
Yeah.
just they talked about Fish Legs having a relationship with Meatlug. Something some of the fandom has done
we-
quite considerably with Hiccup already, and with Hiccup and Toothless already.
Yeah,
but
but
then we said Fish Legs, then we said Meatloaf was more of a mother figure, and then like, oh, wait, edit this.
like I just remember that somehow we somehow got to the fact that in England some guy married his 3DS as a justification to why Fish Legs and Meat Lug can marry.
But yeah, it was really enjoyable. One of the earliest ones that I
Yeah.
had a lot of fun in. Like,
Yeah, I love this one as well. It's a good one.
It was probably one of the first ones that we had a recurring joke from, because we bring up that we brought it not as often as some other recurring jokes, but still pretty fun.
Yeah, that was the first time we found something and we say, you know what, let's run with it.
Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Yeah, so that's a classic, if you can call it that. So Wolf.
I chose the books because I think that was our first episode with Haddock on the show, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And that was just a lot of fun. Like, Haddock is an enjoyable person to talk to and to listen to talk, because they're way better at doing this than any of us are, especially me. So it was just a lot of fun. And then also getting to talk about the books, which are a big part of the franchise for many people, myself included, is also just a lot of fun and just an enjoyable episode.
Yep. We might see that episode pop up again. Might. Just saying. So number 5. I'm not sure if you guys will see this coming. The Mary Sue's episode.
That's twice now.
Mine,
What, twice?
We'll get to it.
Valka's omelet.
Oh. Okay, Wolf, number 5.
My number 5 is DreamWorks Dragons: The Series Review, episode 66.
Okay. So for the Mary Sue's episode, I think I, in terms of the subject, this is such a big subject within the fandom, and the fact that we talked about it with both Astrid and Heather, and I think a few other characters as well. It kind of gave us an opportunity to talk about the popular opinions and the least popular opinions, and kind of tackle these two characters from different points of view. And I just think it led to some interesting discussions, and so I had fun doing this one. And also, I think this was the first time while doing this show that Rush got legitimately angry at me, and that was pretty fun.
Less angry, more annoyed, maybe. But yeah, it was definitely like you two definitely had some good back and forth in that one there for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did re-listen to that one
Let's
part, and
rephrase it. You annoyed me more than you usually do.
Fair.
Fair enough.
Just the little noise you made.
Yeah. Okay, it took him 100 episodes to tell me that. Awesome. But I did give this episode another listen before this, just to quote unquote relive the moment. And it was funny that both me and both Rush and I were like Rush wanted to hear an explanation from me, and both of us were like at the same time going no, and you can hear Wolf having a ball in the background. So
Yeah.
that was a fun moment.
Oh man, yeah. I think I didn't. I think it was mostly because, like always, and I know I said this all the time. We were playing fast and loose with the definition of X, Y, and Z.
As always.
Mary Sue, as always. And so that's like, I got so mad because I'm like, wait a second, I'm getting mad at him for something we haven't even defined yet. And so I like towards the end, I remember saying like, you know what, we haven't made a clear definition, so you could be right, but I could be right too.
It wasn't necessarily that you got confused about something I said. You thought I'm using something I said regarding the movie in general as a point against Astrid, which wasn't the case. It was just something I pointed out. But yeah, it was a fun exchange. So I like this episode.
Mm-hmm.
That's the main takeaway. Okay, so now Rush, why is Valka's omelet number 5?
Well, for mostly the same reasons that Wolf brought up. I really enjoyed just the back and forth that we had on that episode, and then probably again another recurring joke. We'd have to, for the 200th episode, we need to go over our favorite recurring jokes because I keep saying them, but I can't figure out which one's my favorite. But this one is actually this one is probably up there because it was definitely something that I think this was one of the points where Wolf and I just were like on, like we just knew, and then HC was like, "No, what? No, you don't do that." And HC and Wolf and I are just like, "Yeah, no, that's it." Those are some of my favorite moments.
Agreed.
Wolf and I ganging up on HC pretty much.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So, mm-hmm.
Okay, Wolf, you're up.
I picked this one because it was the last episode where you had all four of us together. Myself, HC, Rush, and Voyager. And that's why I've enjoyed it, because it was definitely a lot of fun. And there was definitely, in this one, it surprised me a little bit, some of the opinions Voyager had on the show. I figured she would be much more into the show than what she was, and for her to come out and say that, own it a lot, it definitely surprised me a little bit, if I'm being completely honest. So it was a lot of fun to hear that and see that, and just to have all four of us together. Because
it wasn't the only time. The four of us were also together on the Twins episode.
Yeah, but this was way after the Twins episode, HC.
True.
Way after. That's why I said this is the last time you had all four of us together in the same episode.
Mm-hmm.
All around me are familiar faces.
Oh God.
Sure. So is that it for number 5?
Yep. For me, anyways. Yeah.
Number 4.
Okay, number 4. For me is the first hidden.
Can you repeat that?
Mm-hmm.
First hidden world trailer.
Mm-hmm. All right, number 4 for me is Toothless Evil.
Of course.
Episode 30.
I knew it. I knew someone would choose that.
And it had to be me.
Mine is episode 60, Racism and How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, man.
HC.
Okay, here's the thing about this episode. When the entire idea for the Berkcast came to my mind, I knew that this was something that needed to happen. I knew that I need if I get this podcast off the ground, I need to get to the first trailer for How to Train Dragon 3 in order to say I've done what I wanted. Like, you know, the bigger expectation is to actually review the movie, which we are close to. But I just said I want to do this. We have to get to the first trailer at the very least. So actually watching the trailer and getting to record the episode about it was like this. I did it. For me, that was the one episode that I felt, one of those episodes that was like, yes, I accomplished what I wanted with this podcast for the most part. And also, I think we did have a lot of good back and forth. Like the 4 of us, it was me, Wolf, Voyager, and Leffy. So all 4 of us kind of had similar points, but at the same time, each one did bring something new to the table. Like, we all agree that we like the trailer, but at the same time, we weren't biased by any means. When one of us had something to criticize, we did criticize. And I just think it was a fun discussion to have.
Yeah.
So therefore, that's one of my favorites.
Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. So basically what I got from that is that we could have stopped the Berkcast after the first trailer came out, and you would have been happy.
No, not that, but...
I know. It's always good to have a goal set and then reach that goal and keep going.
Yep.
I had no such goal for this Berkcast, except to burn it to the ground. Anyway, is Toothless Evil? Me being very mad and yelling. What more could I say? Wolf playing devil's advocate very well. It's just, you just have to go and listen. I mean, I was...
A lot of fun.
Yeah, for you, I'm guessing.
It's always fun for me.
It's always fun to watch.
Yeah,
or to listen back and
I
hear
do
myself
say,
like,
I think I also mentioned that previously that, Rush outright being mad at Wolf in this episode was one of the most unexpected things in the universe.
And I remember why, too. I can still kind of feel somewhat, like, pseudo-angry about it, because I'd always bring up a point, but you're like, but what if? And then you would make an even worse theory about it. You're just,
sure.
like, trying to find a worse theory about it. I'm like, why
I
are
had
you
to connect
doing
it.
this to me?
You have to connect it. You have to connect the thing. The dots have to be connected. You have to be standing.
You weren't
What is?
connecting
Oh,
dots. You were.
I think it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I forget his name. Standing in front of the board with all of the different string
Yeah.
connecting everything. That's me.
You weren't connecting dots. You were connecting crack pipes.
I don't think he was connecting anything in that. They just wanted to break everything apart.
You're welcome. I guess moving on to me then.
Yeah.
We're on number 4. I chose Racism and How to Train Your Dragon just because when HC floated the idea to this one, I don't know how Rush felt, but my reaction was, I, mm, I, hmm. Quite literally, that was my reaction. I had no clue where this was going to go or how HC wanted to approach this, and I'll admit it surprised me. But it turned out fairly well. Like I don't know if it's our best episode that we've ever done, but it was definitely interesting to do and to think about, at the very least.
Okay, glad you enjoyed it.
It's
I
one of the few
was a bit.
times I'll credit HC with an interesting idea, at least, anyways.
Oh, thank you. You know, it doesn't happen a lot, but I'll take it when I can get it.
I mean, if you want to take backhanded compliments, sure.
With you two, I'll take anything I can get, honestly.
Fair.
Well put.
Okay, so moving on to number 3, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
My number 3 is the books.
Mm-hmm.
And my number 3 is racism and How to Train Your Dragon.
You know, it's bad enough we have repeats, but now we have a repeat right after the original. Oh well. So I'm glad you
I
guys
want to save
chose
the
that.
last two. Hopefully nobody steals them.
Yeah. Anyway, Wolf, your number 3.
My number 3 is Parenting and How to Train Your Dragon, episode 55.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so regarding the books, there are a lot of things I like about that episode. One, it is one of those episodes that I like to go back and listen to if I need a background noise of any sorts. Now, two, when this episode was conceived, I only read the first one. So, from my point of view, going into it, it was okay. I'm going to be with Wolf, who read all of the books, and this new person he found that apparently read all the books as well. So I'm going to be a bit of a noob here. And I still was, but to my surprise, the day before we recorded the episode, I found How to Be a Pirate and How to Speak Dragonese in a bookstore. And I was like, oh man, this was one of those moments that, you know, you were at the right time at the right place. So I got them and I managed to read them just in time for the books. So that was also kind of a funny coincidence thing. 3, this was the first episode we had Hedek on. And not only does she have fantastic points and is really fun to talk to and have discussions on, but after that episode, she also became a really good friend. So that's another takeaway from this episode. And overall, it was. I just remember having fun recording it. Like, you know, we laughed at a few points. We had some interesting ideas and discussions. Just a fun episode to record and listen to. And also, getting to know people through it is also a huge plus. So that's my number 3.
So, my reasoning behind choosing racism and How to Train Dragon is I really, really enjoyed the topic. I thought it was an interesting discussion point, and you'll get my last 3 were just maybe we may not have had the best discussion like that we've had in the other 2, but I really enjoyed like the idea and the thought process. It made me think, well, how can I argue against it or for it, right? So it was really, I enjoyed just what, as Wolf said, I really enjoyed the topic idea and what it made me think about.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys enjoyed this one a lot because it was one of those ideas that I thought this could be interesting, and hearing you pick it is actually pretty cool. So thanks.
It was very different. I guess I'm up. Yeah, Parenting and How to Train Your Dragon. I picked this one because, again, this was another one of those episodes where it was an interesting topic and it was just fun to talk about, and there was a lot of good back and forth. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, short to the point. Number 2. Okay, I hate to do this. I said I hate doing this, and ironically enough, in our top 7 favorite How to Train Dragon moments, at number 2, I had a tie as well. But these episodes are very similar to each other, and both of them mean a lot to me. So what the hell? Race to the Edge season 4 review and Race to the Edge season 6 review.
Okay.
All right. For me, it was episode 53. Is How to Train Your Dragon about dragons.
Is How to Train a Dragon about dragons.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
what I thought I said.
So this is going to be a repeat. I was going to say number 2 for me was episode 7, the fish legs episode. But since it's already been mentioned, and more or less everything that Rush said about it is pretty much.
Also, you weren't in that one. Right?
No, I wasn't in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't in episode 7. So since Rush already picked it and pretty much said everything I could say, I will quickly switch to episode 78, comparing How to Train Your Dragon and Big Hero 6.
Oh. Okay. So now I need to explain my tie. So again, like I said, seeing how these are two seasons of Race to the Edge reviews, and if you listen to these episodes, you know that the structure for them is pretty similar. So I said, what the hell? But in terms of season 4, I really like this episode for 2 reasons. One, this was the first time on the Berkcast we actually did something that just came out. Like it was right out of the gate. Like I think a day before it, after it premiered, we already reviewed it. So it was everyone was in the mood. Everyone was in the hype. It was fresh in our minds, and you can kind of tell that we were having fun with this season because you can hear. I think listening back, you can listen to our excitement talking about it, which was fun. And also kind of a behind the scenes thing. I think this was after this episode, or like even a bit like I think after we finished it, Rush opened up the Berkcast Tumblr, and you know, getting to communicate with a lot of people from the community thanks to that episode was actually really fun for me. So that's why I love Race to the Edge season 4 review. For season 6, it doesn't. It also kind. If Race to the Edge season 4 was like the first did something new, then season 6 was like the end of it, because when we started, Race to the Edge was like the main How to Train Dragon thing that we were getting news on, for the most part. And so this was like, in a sense, an end of an era, because we started going into the middle of Race to the Edge, and then we reached the end of it. And also, I think we had a lot more interesting discussions for season 6, because for season 4 we mostly agreed on everything. In season 6, we agreed, but we also had a lot of back and forward regarding conflicting opinions, which made it even more fun. So yeah, those 2 episodes are really similar to me, and that's why they're both on number 2.
Fair enough.
I also like those moments when both of you have nothing to say, so you say the exact same thing.
It's mostly because we probably weren't paying attention and we just realized you stopped talking. It happens quite a lot to me. I don't know about Wolf, though. Anyway, I shouldn't give away my secrets.
That's why I'm not saying anything.
Mm-hmm. I swear this coffee isn't spiked. But is How to Train Your Dragon about dragons? This one was another topic that I saw when you sent out the script. I'm like, see, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was like, I had to really think about this because I'm like,
isn't it like what you say every time I send you a script?
No, most of them are fairly grounded in, yeah, this makes sense to talk about. That there have been a few that have been out there.
Episode 8C, what the hell? No, I say that. No. I only say that when you bring up your theory on the topics that you send out. Those are out there.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned this toothless Titan wing yet, but
That one was a legitimate question. I
Okay,
didn't
but
agree
anyway,
with it,
go on.
yes, or no, I think we did talk about the Lifeguard band title. That one, agreed. Either way, another good like thinking topic, and I really enjoyed the discussion with this one. I mean, I'm gonna say that about this one and the next one, but that's basically the reason why I kind of went for the goofy ones and then the ones that I really just enjoyed what we talked about. So yeah, short and sweet.
Okay, Wolf.
Um, for me, I did say like I said before, mine was going to be the Fish Legs episode, but Rush pretty much said everything for that. So like I said, I quickly switched over to episode 78, comparing How to Train Your Dragon and Big Hero 6. And the reason I'll pick that one is because I don't think that was the first time we've had Wolfie on the show.
No, that was the third time.
But again, Wolfie's another guest we've had on who is also very fun to talk to and very enjoyable, and has a lot of interesting things to say and listen to, and could probably definitely do a show like this better than I could. But again, it was just fun to. It's always fun to get to talk to him as well as many of the other guests we've had on as well. It's always fun to have them back on and to continue talking with them and hearing what they have to say about different things. And this was a fun one to talk about. And it got me to watch Big Hero 6, which was definitely a fun and enjoyable movie too. Because up until this episode, I had not watched that movie.
Well, now catch up on the show, damn it. But anything else you want to add?
Not really. I think I'm good.
Okay, with that said, number one.
No. We should prolong it. Make you wait for
Honorable
it.
mentions now?
Yes. Any runner-ups that we have?
Okay, so I have a few. I think it was episode 13. It was just me and Wolf, and it was when they released the log line to the Hidden World before it was even called that. And it was also once a universal like but DreamWorks.
Mm-hmm.
So we also had a bit of a discussion about that, and I just remember having that it was a fun talk, and also we kind of brought up each one of us brought points that were interesting to the other side, and I just think it was a good episode. Very analytic, but at the same time I like those because those are fun. Like you can sometimes when in these kind of episodes you can sometimes hear something you didn't expect to hear, and that's fun. Now, in terms of other runner-ups, pretty much every time we have a guest on, it's always fun. Whether we mentioned Haddock and Leffy and Voyager, I guess you could say Wolfie, obviously, who's I think the guest who's been in most episodes, and then we also had Twig and Rift,
Leffy and
Valkyrie.
Here actually. I'm thinking more along the lines of interviews, because that was what I was going to say for my runner-ups, any of the interviews, but just anytime a guest is on in general has been really fun.
It definitely changes up the dynamic a lot, and it's always fun to have them on.
Yeah, I like the interview. I do want to give a special shout out to the interviews in particular, because when you really think about it, like at least in the case of like Haddock, Rift, and to some extent Leffy and Rady from the previous episode, when you and M as well, I think when you see their posts, either if it's fan fictions or analyses or drawings or whatever, you can just read a text, but you don't really hear the person. And through these interviews, some people said that it was fun. People said it was fun for them to hear these people talk, and can I? So this was also kind of fun. Like you can read someone's blog or story, but then you actually get to hear that person interact with other people, and that's really cool. So
also
it was
a face to a blog, or sorry, putting a voice to a blog too. Sometimes.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. So these are pretty much my runner-ups.
So yeah, interviews for me were a big one. And then Unfortunately, I got sidetracked by the interview talk. Uh, the fan fiction readings were good,
Mhm.
but I'd have to say the true runner-up are my predictions episodes. Just kidding.
Of
Anytime we did
course.
predictions, not my prediction episodes. Anytime we did predictions in general, um,
Mhm.
I think those are fun because that's probably one of the few things that I like was always looking forward to. Just
Hmm.
because I could also joke about them, but then I could also just I could just give some insight onto what I was thinking would happen. Although we still don't have a counter for how close I was. I do remember that I was 10 pages off of Dragonvine,
Yeah, no, it was Serpent 7.
or no, it was Dragonvine.
No, it was the Serpent's Edge. HC had it right. Like you were 10 pages off on that one.
Did you say that on purpose?
Yes, I did. I've always said it on
All right.
purpose, Rush.
I know. I just want to make sure that it was like one of those time, like the time you said muck it and bolt.
Oh, we'll get to that in a minute.
Ooh, boy howdy. All right. Anyway, yeah, those are my runner-ups.
Mine are like mentioning Berkcast first, episode 45, comparing the How to Train Your Dragon characters to other characters. That one was interesting because that was an episode that Rush was, behind the scenes. Rush was technically there for that episode. He just didn't speak. He was recording that episode. I think he was sick for that one, is what it was.
Oh yeah, that was
So
the one where I
behind the
had the
scenes,
horrible flu.
yeah,
I could
Rush was
not.
there. He was just recording, not talking. So that was one where it was just me and HC back and forth, and Rush silently in the background. Something you don't know.
I muted my mic.
Yeah.
And I was
And
just laying in my bed,
actually,
kind of listening because I had it on through my headphones so I could hear your voices. And I did actually fall asleep, and I woke up right as HC was saying, "Thank you all for coming to the Berkcast," or his outro. I'm like, oh my god, the timing.
Mm-hmm.
and actually, one fun fact about that episode: this was the first ever time Wolf brought up Ruby to me.
Yeah.
And on that note, Volume 5 is coming to those who are waiting for it.
Had to get a mention in there. But yeah, that was the first time I brought up Ruby as well, which was always fun to look at. And it was also really fun for me to kind of compare those characters to characters from How to Train Your Dragon as well. And speaking of Ruby, I'll also make honorable mentions to The Outcast. The Ruby series we've been doing has also been a lot of fun for me as another show that I love and enjoy, and getting to talk about it in this fashion has been a lot of fun to do, more than I thought it would be. As well, one last honorable mention, I will say The Outcast episode 6, 13 Reasons Why. I
Yeah, that
mentioned
was a
that
good
one
one. That was a good one.
because it was a little bit messy in my opinion. HC chose, more behind the scenes. HC said, let's look at this as a movie and not just single episodes.
Mhm.
And I think that was not the best of decisions, personally, because it's very muddy.
Could
Like
be.
we're jumping all over the place quite often, and you can hear me desperately, like HC. You can hear me desperately trying to keep some semblance of like order. And it's like, well, let's go about it, like talking about the characters. Let's, the characters that are introduced and how we're introduced to them. We'll do it that way, and that's how you consistently hear me. Like,
Well,
okay, we're talking about
I
this episode now, looking at this character. And HC once again, like, well, I'm gonna jump 3 episodes ahead of you again, and like, oh god, help.
and the reason for this is because I thought this is
It's
kind of it's a hard show to tackle as it is.
oh yeah,
So I
absolutely.
wasn't really sure if we should do it an episode by episode but
Uh,
again, I did think we still had an interesting
oh yeah,
discussions though, I
yeah.
think.
Like I don't disagree with the decision you made. I just don't think we handled it the best way possible. But also,
Mhm.
you get to hear me get angry with a show for once. That's not something you get to hear very often
Yeah.
on the Bertcast. The
Yeah,
Outcast,
and
however, you
also
get to hear me actively
if
rant. So
if I can mention two Outcast episodes myself, one I really enjoyed doing the Avengers Infinity War review with Rush. That was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one is that I watched that Netflix show called Kiss Me First, which was the most polarizing thing in the universe. Like, I was watching this show, like, what the hell is this? And it actually made me terrified. Like it terrified me in a lot of sense, to the point I actually had to tell all of my friends afterwards that I will never betray them. It was that fucked up, and so it was kind of fun and therapeutic to me to do an episode about it where I just rant about it. I'm just by myself throughout the entire thing. I think that episode is like 30 something minutes. I'm not sure, but it's just me, like pouring all my disgust and confusion with this show. And so, that was kind of therapeutic and and fun in a sense. Also, to the people who are going to ask, why am I not mentioning that one Outcast episode about that one upcoming movie, is because that episode is totally outdated by now. And no.
I also wanted to, speaking of behind the scenes from what Wolf had said earlier, there was one episode. It kind of makes me regret not actually recording, like, from the second I joined the call, because we've always had some funny stuff going on before. But one that I actually kept was when HC, and I think it was in one of our earlier episodes, HC did the countdown. I started, and there was just silence. And then he was like, "Did you start?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah,
it may have been the very first one when I started recording.
Yeah, I think it was one of those, like when, because at the beginning each one of us recorded separately, and then I edited it out, and then when my computer started having problems, we kind of switched it around. So it could be it.
Yeah, it was probably around one of those. But we had several, not many intro problems. Other than a time when I recorded it and it was going through the wrong audio, which I only noticed about like a minute in, thankfully. Yeah, we've had a bunch of other before things that were quite funny.
Yeah.
Which would be nice to if we had any,
Speaking of which, Rush, I'm still waiting for you to upload that pre-show we did where Yoda turned into Scooby-Doo.
Did I record that?
I don't know. If
you said you did.
I thought I said I wanted to record.
Yeah, I don't think we recorded that one.
Oh, damn it. I actually enjoyed that one.
So there's something the audience has no clue what to think of and no context of.
Here's your out of context thing when Yoda turned into Scooby-Doo. Anyway, number one.
Drum roll.
Number one.
My number one Berkcast episode is the Toothless Character episode.
Okay.
Damn it, Wolf.
Damn it, Wolf. What?
Because we both said okay again. Mine is episode 92. Is How to Train Your Dragon character-based or story-based?
And last but not least, mine is episode 84, Mary Sue's and How to Train Your Dragon.
Oh, of course, Wolf would choose that one for the number one pick, but whatever. Okay, so the Toothless Character episode. In terms of a podcast, I think not 100% yet, but I think that was the point where it was still with Voyager, and I think this was the time where Rush, Voyager, and I started feeling less like strangers to each other, and we actually started having that back and forward with each other, and actually joke with each other, and maybe throw jabs at one another and stuff like that. I think this was the episode where we really started finding our groove. And for a podcast like this is really important. So I really like it for that regard. And second one, there are a lot of moments in it that I like for the Ogre cast, obviously. That was an improvised joke of mine, which actually got a chuckle out of Rush. One out of two times maybe, and then I also remember when we tried and find toothless moments we don't like. With the exception of him killing Stuick and not letting Hiccup help him in that Riders episode. So, and Voyager called finding a least favorite toothless moment like Dark Souls hard or something, which kind of makes me think we were on that Dark Souls joke before meme before everyone else, which is kind of cool. And I just remember I just have fun memories from this one.
Fair enough. Yeah, I enjoyed those early ones too, but it's just for my pick, I just had to go again with one that I think had in recent memory probably one of the best discussion points that we kind of had, because we it was this topic itself was really hard to think about, because you can say X or Y in this one, but they're really, really close, because How to Train Your Dragon just molds so well together that it could be just both at the same time for the story or the character based, plot. And so it was such an interesting topic, and one that I think I did the most thinking on before coffee too.
Fair enough.
Well, that's the important part before coffee.
This is true.
Usually, if you hear me getting more or talking more sensibly as the podcast goes on, that's the coffee kicking in usually.
Oh, okay. Noted.
Mm-hmm.
Wolf?
So for me, I picked Mary Susan How to Train Your Dragon. Yes, it's already been mentioned, so this is a repeat. But I picked it because, number one, it wasn't mentioned. The alliteration in this episode was definitely one of my favorite things, was coming up with new phrases. Perfect Patty and Foolproof Fred. Have to remember those right off the top of my head. Those were fun. As well as my definite screw up, Muck It and Bulch.
Oh yeah, right. That was in that episode, right?
Yes, that happened in that episode. Have to mention that. But also, as Rush said before, there was some great back and forth. Hearing HC and Rush kind of go at it just a little bit was also a lot of fun, and just kind of getting to sit back and listen to that. And behind the scenes, it was also great for me because this was, behind the scenes info, this was a show idea that I pitched to HC. Because every now and again, for those of you, since you're not aware, HC will come to us and ask, hey, do you have any show ideas? Because I've got nothing.
Well, it's not necessarily that I got nothing. I'm just because I have all episodes ideas written down somewhere. Mm-hmm. It's just sometimes I ask you if you got anything you want to talk to.
And this is one of those ideas I pitched to him quite a few times. I said, hey, we could do this episode. We could do that episode this week. And he's like, maybe. And then he comes up with something and we do it instead. There's a couple weeks where I continued to pitch this and to HC, and he's like, I'll come up with a script. It's like, I couldn't come up with a script, but we'll do this instead. I'm like, all right.
Because, sometimes they announce something and
this
is
true.
Just
that happened
have
a lot too.
Mm-hmm. Like, I remember with the parenting in How to Train a Dragon, I was so ready for this. I had the script ready and everything, and then like 2 days before, welcome our new villain, Grimmel, and it's like, oh, are you serious? But yeah that. But go on.
But yeah, like it's definitely like that was one that I pitched to him a few times as, hey, we could do that this week, and either something came up or it just kind of got pushed back, and eventually we finally managed to do it, and it turned out to be probably one of my, if not my favorite episode of the Berkcast we've done so far. There's been a lot of good stuff, but I think that one definitely ranks up there for me.
Okay. So anything else you want to add before ending the show?
No, I don't think so. Keep watching the Berkcast.
Yeah, that's obvious. Okay, so with all that said, that was the 100th episode of the Berkcast. We hope you enjoyed. What are your favorite Berkcast episodes? You can tell us all about that in the comment section below, on our Tumblr, where we are known as Berkcast Team, on Twitter, where we are known as Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and you can find all of us in the How to Train a Dragon Valhalla Discord server. So with all that said, Thank you for 100 episodes. Throughout all of those, I was HC.
I was Rush.
And I've been Wolf.
And we will see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.